Hello, everyone, and welcome to issue number 83 of Anti-Life Reviews. I'm, of course, the Tony Makaya, Master of Minds and of Men. We are going to continue on with Darwyn Cooke month. We get another Batman adventure, but he has a friend with him this time who wears a domino mask. Who might that be, may you ask? Robin? Well, no, someone not quite as garish. Today we look at Batman Spirit, published by DC Comics on January 2007. Before I begin, please subscribe if you don't have to like, but subscribe anyway. It's the least you can do. So let's go ahead and get on with it. Writers and artists on this today are Jeff Loeb as the writer. Now, I have mixed feelings about Jeff. He's done some stuff I enjoy, The Long Halloween, A Scanny Sun, and he worked on Commando and Lost, both of which I'm a fan of. But he's also tiring to read. He's long-winded, he's shallow, and his bad stuff is absolutely abysmal. I mean, did anyone read Ultimatum and not wish horrible things to happen to Mr. Loeb's eyes and genitals? So I guess I don't really have mixed feelings in so much as that I don't really like him. Well, not him, but a good portion of what he writes. But I tolerate him sometimes. Of course, the artist on this is Darwyn Cooke, award-winning comic historian who has a distinguished style that truly sets him above many of his peers at the time. I compared him to Will Eisner a number of times, and here today we get to see Eisner's most famous creation, the Spirit, get the Cooke treatment. Sadly, Darwyn passed away in 2016, and the world is worse for it. We get the story of the one time the Spirit met the Batman. A number of the Spirit's bad guys are leaving town, including his arch-nemesis, the Octopus, but also the Cossack and Pagel, who will only be the only really ones important in this comic. Coincidentally, a number of Batman villains, including the Joker, Harley Quinn, Killer Croc, Catwoman, and the Ventriloquist have also fled the city. Where could all these villains be going? Well, in further parallels, we see the two commissioners, Gordon and Dolan, respectively, are both headed to an event that all supposed good policemen are headed to. The Policemen's Benevolent Association's annual law enforcement convention. That was a mouthful. Which the heroes quickly figure out that's where the bad guys are going to be. Well, at the event, both commissioners are seduced, Dolan by Poison Ivy and Gordon by Pagel. We see the event is a costumed event, which helps the bad guys to blend in unnoticed. The Octopus holds a meeting, having the Spirits and Batman's villains meeting formally, as the Joker is celebrated as a special guest. When the masked heroes finally arrive, Catwoman tells the Spirit she's working undercover and to meet her at a building nearby. Pagel does the same to the Batman. But of course it's a trap, and this is where the heroes finally meet before the building therein blows up. So the bad guys come to retrieve them, but it's revealed that the ventriloquist is Robin in disguise. And the Spirit and Batman take the Cossack and Killer Croc hostage. They play bad cop, and torture the two villains until they talk. After some switcheroos between the heroes, they manage to take down the Joker, stop the bombs from killing all the cops, and even Superman shows up to help round up the other villains. In the end, the Spirit barely believes he actually met the real Batman. This is a really fun comic to read. It did feel like an animated movie or something in its layout. The design were obviously heavily inspired by Batman the Animated Series, which we've seen a lot of this month, but with a little bit of a twist on it. It was colorful, vibrant, packed wall-to-wall with characters. So we really got to see what Darwyn thought of each person. Excellently drawn, surprisingly well written, I gotta say. The parallels in it were a lot of fun. It was simple. It was hardly, Watchmen level of parallels. But we got the two commissioners and their two daughters. We got the villains being parallel, especially with the femme fatales. The heroes doing things parallel to each other. It was cool to see until they finally meet how similar and different their lives and thought processes are. On top of that, we got lots of character work I didn't really talk about. We see the villain schmozzing around, which was fun. The Joker dressing like the skipper from Gilligan's Island, and he's fishing, and he loves it. Harley as a flight attendant is not a cosplay I've seen yet. We didn't get much from the Spirit villains. The Octopus is there, but does very little. Pagel and the Cossack do most of the heavy lifting. I don't know a ton about them, so it is what it is. Batman didn't get quite as much characterization as the Spirit, which kind of made sense because the story is framed as the time the Spirit met Batman. So obviously there's some reverence there, and it comes across that the Spirit is shocked he's meeting the supposed Dark Knight. The Spirit considers himself to be a vigilante of sorts, climbing across rooftops, but Batman is far more of a big deal. So like that they have this kind of stoic, kind of closed-off Batman, and the Spirit is being like, I'll just do what this guy says, and we'll see where it goes. Not that they don't buddy-buddy, because they do, but it seems it's mostly on Batman's terms. Let's talk about the Spirit real briefly. He's a character that I think now doesn't get a lot of love. He's been not forgotten, not by comic fans, but misplaced. He was a huge draw, and he was different because he wasn't originally a comic book. He was like A newspaper insert, not a newspaper strip like the Phantom, who debuted a year earlier than the Spirit. An insert like a comic that came with the newspaper. And that's wild. And it sold great. I mean, it's a publication that was guaranteed as long as the paper ran. It was a strange comic. It had real depth to it. The characters and stories. The art was shockingly good for this era. We're talking about 1939, the golden era. There was a real movie flow to it, a real understanding of narration and panel and layout that a lot of people still to this day don't get. Reading the old Spirit comics are like jazz, they border on psychedelic in time. It's noir before there was noir. He made the domino mask famous. We call the stuff you use on stage spirit gum. We call it that because of the spirit. That's how he stuck his domino mask on. Not to mention how many people took the fedora, overcoat, and gloves thing. You have the question, Rorschach, etc., etc. That was the Spirit. I've read enough to appreciate the character, but not enough to be a well of knowledge about it. I'm going to dive into the Spirit when I get a chance, though. I think and I hope that this is not a character that is out of the zeitgeist anytime soon. I'm afraid this one's going to be pretty short, but I'm shocked at how much fun I had with this issue. I would easily recommend it, to the obvious fans. But I think if you don't know much about the Spirit, you might enjoy this. Well, that was week 3 of my Darwyn Cooke month with a fun little comic in Batman Spirit. Would you call it Batman Spirit or the Batman, the Spirit? Would you like to see the Spirit interact with any DC or Marvel character? Let me know down below. Also, I revamped my Patreon. I'm still trying to figure it out totally, but I revamped the tier system and streamlined it. So please check it out. It's for $1 a month, or not at all. And if you want to do more, I'll review the stuff that you want me to. Also, please add me on Instagram under Demon Peaks for daily Twin Peaks memes. Don't forget to subscribe here as well, and come back next week for more Darwyn Cooke as I look at the rare Marvel appearance by him with Wolverine Dupe. This has been Lito Makaya, Master of Minds and Men. Thank you very much, and goodbye.